So Navkaran, thanks for taking the time on a Saturday. That too. Your Saturdays are working for you guys.
So I'm working 7 days a week, 365. It's part of the game. A lot of our markets are actually Middle East, right?
Okay.
Sundays are working first day of the week then. So all these things put together, it becomes like that.
Okay, I see. So let's start off. Please tell me a bit about your startup, Akvo. It's very interesting. I came across your company a few months ago online, and then I saw it on LinkedIn, and the premise is really promising. So tell us about this exciting startup.
I come from a family background, family business. I'm a second generation entrepreneur, and I've over the last 17 years of working, I've dabbled in various things. And I think as a principle, we try to diversify, into something new every 3 to 5 years. And because I think it's for sure things. One is for obviously looking for expansion of the avenues. And personally, I think I get bored very easily. So in 2016, we were toying with something to do with renewable sustainability. I had just then sold a majority stake in my steel company then, and I had basically been made redundant from running that plant on a daily basis to just becoming a board member. I was looking for the next itch. Hey, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? So in 2016, then I started looking at renewables. What can we do? Is something in solar energy, etc. And water is something that really caught my attention. I said, yeah, water is good. It's very funny. It was December 2016, and I was watching Big Shot, and I love that movie. I don't know if you've seen Big Shot.
Yeah.
Right. And while I was toying with the idea of water, and at the end of that movie, Christian Bale's character, it says that now all investments that he's making going forward are all in water. So I thought, and this is some kind of a message. The guy who foresaw the housing crisis knows something I don't know. So I said, I think we should explore water. And various texts we looked at. And then I myself chanced upon that there's actually technology out there that you can do water from air. And I started studying various kind of machines available. And I said, it seems simplistic. Can we make one of our own? So got around, figure out a team. What kind of team can we build? Built the initial team of about 6 people. Started hiring, found a small 5,000 square feet warehouse and said, we start building. And it took us about 8 months to get our first machine running.
Okay.
And then we started to commercialize a year after that. So, but that's exactly how it transferred on. I wish my story was a little more glamorous. Like I was sitting one day and I saw water on a glass and there were droplets and it occurred to me. But unfortunately, it's not as glamorous as that. It's a very clear business decision.
But still, it's a cool flex because you guys built India's first indigenously built AWG.
And it's a cool flex, and I'm very proud of the fact that we're made in India, and I'm very proud that we made it in Bengal also. Bengal doesn't have any new age tech industry anymore. So at least when you talk to people here also, they get excited. Bengal is doing technology. Yeah, we're doing technology in Bengal now.
So was there a strategic decision behind basing it in Kolkata?
So first of all, I'm third generation Kolkata, right? My family's been here for years. So everything I've done, schooling, etc., all has been Calcutta. So Calcutta's home for me. The thing about Calcutta, the way I find it effectively, is that it's got the season of a very old industrial hub. But what happens is if you're old money, you become complacent. And I think the problem with Calcutta is the same. Because Calcutta is not a developing city. Calcutta has been an industrial hub since the British time. So people here are very complacent, right? They're okay. Everything is good. They're more focused towards art and literature and creativity and all of that. So what that does for a technology company like ours is we get access to really good talent pool at very economical price. So the cost of manpower in Calcutta is very low compared to if I was running a similar company in Bangalore or Pune or Bombay or even Chennai. My employee cost would probably be 3x. But the good part is because the next generation is looking for jobs, looking for interesting things to do, we get access to good talent pool here.
And is it tough training the staff there to manage a certain level of competency?
See, a lot of people, when we talk about Calcutta specifically, right, a lot of people say you're running manufacturing out of Calcutta, culture problem, etc. But I've run various businesses, right? Core family business, exports. I run a hotel for many years. I ran a steel manufacturing unit for 5 years where 300 people were reporting to me. And my only understanding of how businesses should be is as a founder, we have two jobs, right? Effectively to strategize and understand what industry you're pursuing. But more than that, organization culture is probably the most important thing. And my style of operating is very hands off. So I basically give people ownership of what they do. So once you let people do what they think they should be doing and you give them enough wiggle room, I think it's very easy. So training, I don't train, right? A huge part of my team is actually freshers who've been said, I had this problem, can you solve it? And then they go about figuring out how it can be solved. So I think from that perspective, it's a lot easier for us to operate. And I was deeply inspired by this book by Ricardo Semler called Maverick. I recommend everybody should read it if you're in business. And I actually gift out about 10, 12, 15 copies every year to people that are. And Ricardo Semler was a second generation entrepreneur like us, like me, who joined his father's business in the mid 80s. And he was so frustrated with the way things were running that he eventually told his father that, find me another factory, I'll run it myself. I don't want anything to do with your business. And his dad said, oh, he's my only son. What do I do? This is a Brazilian entrepreneur. And he said, I'm going to Switzerland for a month and you do what you want to do. And the first day he fired 80% of the board. And what he went about doing, and it's an amazing book in terms of organization culture building, is he went about democratizing the entire organization. And till date, in Semco, which is now a $1 billion plus company, there are flexible timings. People decide their own pace. People decide where they want to go set up a new factory. Everybody votes. So I started building this kind of culture in the organization back in 2008-9. So we keep a very transparent system. We have a steering committee of employees, about 8 of us, who decide what the next actions are. So we build culture and bring ownership. So the people don't require training, right? If they're motivated and they feel ownership, I think they find the talent, they find the help, they solve the problems. You don't have to be too involved.
Interesting. So as a second generation entrepreneur, you have quite yourself based your learnings on Maverick in a way.
Yes, I think any organization, whether second generation, first generation, doesn't matter. It's very important if you're trying to scale a business because see, a sole proprietor can only get it so far, right? An organization needs to be built by people. It is built by people. It is not built by founders. Any person who thinks that I did it all is joking because it's impossible. I'm not an engineer, I'm a finance student, right? To start an air-to-water technology company, I can't do anything my own. Although I educate myself on every aspect of the business. So if you ask me about heat exchange and thermodynamics, I can explain it today. But at the end of the practical utilization, how things work, the software that needs to be written, etc. It's all people, right? It's not me. So I think it's very important for any organization to concentrate on culture.
Right. And when we talk about these kind of startups or companies wherein the founder does not belong to the core domain, so how do you manage finding the right talent because you don't have the exact deep knowledge about that domain on its own? So how do you manage finding the right talent that way?
My core principle in team finding is always based on intent more than skill. If people have the intent, I say, again, niyat hai, you can teach anybody anything, no matter how. But if there's one very highly skilled person and doesn't have the intent, then it's worth nothing. So I only go about trying to find hungry people who have the intent to learn. Of course, we have different levels of people that have joined, some experience, but even then, the idea is to find well-intentioned people and see where they fit. And then they move up the organization. And that's how it gets built.
Interesting. And when you started with Akvo, AWG has been there for quite some time, but
25 years maybe.
Yeah, but it's still fairly new for the masses. So was it challenging initially to educate the masses and then sell your product?
It's still challenging. I've been in the space for 7 years. I can't say we won the battle. It's still challenging. The only point is that in any industry, there has to be a tipping point, right? For it to go that hockey stick, for example. And in India, a lot of industries have seen that hockey stick impact. Like, I'll give you a small example. Like the US in 80s and 90s saw a huge landline revolution. Where they had penetration of landlines everywhere, answering machines were there. It was a standard thing. India skipped the landline revolution and went straight to mobile.
Hmm.
Similarly, in water infrastructure, what we see is that people have this hope, like, that just like in Europe, and I go and I open a glass of water from the tap and I drink from there and all of that. India will not be able to catch up to the infrastructural requirement that needs to be fulfilled. So obviously that gap is now going to come. You could have been following the news over the last few weeks and seen what's happening in Bangalore, right? And this is just the beginning of the water crisis. In actuality, there is no water problem, right? The world has infinite amount of water, and there's a good water cycle that replenishes. The problem is water related, water management related. So we are here to offset that. See what happens in power also. India has enough power generation capacity. The problem happens in distribution. So the discoms cannot reach everywhere. Similarly, in water also, there is ample water. But how do you get this water to the end consumer? Now, to get water to the end consumer, you require crores and crores of infrastructure investment. You've got pipes to go, pumps to do, filtrations, etc. All of that. So municipal corporations have to catch up. Water ministry has to catch up. There's so much that happens in that regard. But people also want to get their own independence in terms of where they're securing. And that's how the solar revolution also happened, right? Solar took off on two levels. One level was where government said, come set up solar plants. We will buy power from you and we will do the distribution. And the other is the rooftop solar solution, where individual homes and buildings are saying, we'll install some solar capacity. We're approaching this problem on both facets. So we're also going into buildings and offices and saying, gain your own water independence and subscribe to our water or buy our machines and get water independence. At the same time, at some level, we're also pushing governments for some infrastructural level support. And we've seen different countries work in different methods on our technology. Akvo has the privilege of being present in 15 countries now. So we have machines in 15 countries around the world. But depending on where we are, what we're doing. Like in the UAE, people are looking at us infrastructural. We're talking to government. We supply to the Ministry of Presidential Affairs quite a few machines. And they're doing that. In Philippines, our solution is going as emergency water for disaster relief. It's on trailers with a generator, so that a lot of natural calamities happen in Philippines. Earthquakes, tsunamis, etc. So our machines are for backup water supply wherever there's a calamity. In Bangalore, again, we work with corporates where we give them drinking water supply in their buildings. So we're trying to look at every market and see how that market needs us. Because we have a technology, we want to work towards actually creating a solution. So we are very flexible in how the market wants us. And that's why if you see our products versus our competitors, right? We stopped being a product company. We're trying to focus more to being a solutions company, a project company. The standard appliance type machine, one machine generates water from air. It'll only get you so far. But if you're able to do large scale deployment, like a big blue chip corporate in Chennai, we installed last year in Jan 2023, we installed single location 30,000 liters of water from air every day.
Okay.
Okay. We started to see that change. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to go in, look at the solutions, and then go about that.
So, you're pivoting sort of towards the B2B space rather than the B2C.
So last 3 years, we understood we're moving away from being a product company, and we're now a project company, solutions company. We want to create real large-scale installations in terms of water from air. We don't want to limit ourselves to here's the product, try to sell you one, try to sell your neighbor one. That won't have the real impact. I would rather you come into your building and put my large machines and let you subscribe to that water than trying to sell you 150-liter machine.
Indeed. And when you are trying to scale it up and make it an organizational level thing, are you facing any challenges from governments? Because even state to state government, there are a lot of restrictions in India.
See, first of all, I'll be very candid. I try to steer clear of government, especially in India. Because my point is that I want my solution to go to real deployment in real use case to real consumers. I don't think the government is ready yet with this, because from a government perspective, they have their mindset clear in terms of what is the water infrastructure that they provide and how. Like I was talking to a building association yesterday in Bangalore, and they're saying, although the media is crazy about water crisis, but actually we have not faced even 1 second of water loss because so many tankers are coming in, which means water is there. Right. It's an infrastructural problem. So that's why our point is that we want to become parallel in terms of water utility We are not trying to be the water utility. Let the government do its job. At the same time, I feel wherever it's feasible, like large cities, more and more people should adopt our technology so that government can then concentrate on taking it to real impact in rural areas, semi-rural or semi-urban areas where there's real dearth. The people who have the money will source it either way.
Right.
In Bangalore, people who have the money will buy tankers, they'll buy jars, they'll buy etc. So they never get bogged down. And I had faced the same thing in 2018 in Cape Town. Okay. When I went to Cape Town and I was like, oh, day zero. And I was staying in a nice hotel and I did not see any water shortages, nothing. Right? Okay. So the media highlights a lot more than actually exists on the ground, number one. Number two, in a country of so many jugadus, you have so much, when you have money, I don't think anything stops. So yeah, the people who always get impacted are the poor people. The people with money, they're sorted. They don't have to queue up anywhere.
And since you're catering to so many different locations at the same time, 15 countries now, and the conditions are so different. Like, every 100 kilometers, the conditions are different. So how does this technology thrive in drier climates?
What we do effectively is wherever we are now supplying, let's say if someone from Dubai reaches out to us, we do a feasibility study on what the actual efficiency will be. Right? Now, the cost of water that derived from our machines is dependent on two things. A, the weather conditions, and B, the input power cost. Now, let's say in a Qatar, where efficiency is 40%, 50%. However, the cost of electricity is 1/5 of India.
Okay.
There it automatically makes sense. So even low efficiencies make sense. Same thing in Kuwait. 2 rupees a unit of power. Oh. So even if the machine is working at 50% efficiency, the cost per liter is only 1 rupee per liter. Right? So depending on where we are, obviously we have a geographical limitation. We operate mostly in the tropical environment. So because we can, like colder countries are out of the question for us. Like Europe will never be a market for us. Although we have supplied 2 machines to Estonia, but that's for a project that we're building a mobile home. So Europe will never be a market for us. North America will never be a market for us. In North America, pockets like we have shipped to Florida, to California, to Hawaii. These places are okay. But other states, not so much. Right? So we, even having said that, even with the geographical limitation, the market size is massive. Because a huge part of the world's population, I think about 70% of the world's population lives in tropical regions.
And are you also facing competition from other players, or is the market fairly open at the moment?
The market is open. Yes, there is competition now. But I would be dishonest if I say, yes, I'm facing competition. We're not facing too much competition because our differentiation is our product. At the same time, our product market strategy is very different. So we do slow work. We don't go about crazy, and we don't do any push sales. Our sales are 100% pull. So people or companies or enterprises who have educated themselves, they reach out to us, and then the process of conversion starts. That's why there is competition. I think if there's a website, you can go on atmoswater.com. And usually 130 companies listed in the air-to-water space. If I was to say, I think we would be considered in the top 3 at least in the world in atmospheric water generators.
Interesting. And of course, the early mover advantage certainly helps you.
I think more than early mover advantage, Rishabh, is that we actually, because we concentrate more on R&D, about 70% of our work goes on R&D. So we are always doing product development on a daily basis. So because of that, it's very important that we're always ahead of the curve and move in that direction.
Right. And when it comes to scaling up, of course, companies are crazy about scaling it up like anything. They are trying to pull funds from everywhere. So what's your stance on this sort of scale? And are you looking for investors with strategic partnerships at the moment?
So I've actually been over the years received a lot of interest from investors. To be very honest, I did not know myself where the product would go and what would be the right product market fit. Simply having a technology makes water from air, and you think that you'll just take money and then start pushing it. I think fiscal responsibility of handling investors' money is very important. So till the time I didn't have clarity on what I wanted to do with the money, I didn't want to take anybody's money. Today we are healthily profitable. We're bootstrapped. The last 2 years, so obviously I lost a lot of money in the first 5 years, but last 2 years we've been profitable. And Akvo is 100% self-sustaining. And I think I really want to scale up as much using our own money, because even now I don't think the market is that big that I need to take investors' money and try to push. So till that tipping point comes, I don't want to unnecessarily just take on money and then start looking for problems to solve because now I have money. The way I see it long term, in fact, if we continue to be profitable, we will continue to grow in the water technology space. Maybe even do some inorganic growth in terms of finding latest technology, buying them out and investing them and doing all of that while continuing to invest in our product. Like we have 2 more new products coming out right now at the end of this year, calendar year, which are completely in a different ballgame. They're atmospheric water generation, but with what we've been able to reduce the power consumption per liter considerably. And the other one is 100% renewable technology, which requires no power input. So we're concentrating on that and trying to figure out how we'll grow the market, what is product market fit. But yeah, investors, not right now. I don't think we need investors right now.
And since you recently pivoted to the organizational level approach at the moment, how did you find the shift in terms of your, as you said, it's mostly pull, but still, you must be focusing on the marketing strategy, the brand outreach. So what has been your approach so far?
So our brand outreach is 100% digital, right? We spend a considerable amount of money on digital marketing month on month, every month. With Google Ads is what we predominantly use. We don't do too much of Instagram and Facebook. So we work in mostly Google Ads and LinkedIn. Because that's where our ecospace of customers and clients is. And we see a good amount of effort there. See, we like to create enough material for people who are educating themselves about atmospheric water generator, know that we are the people they should reach out to. But if you're on the market for a water purifier, and I try to show you my ad, for example, that is me wasting money because you're not my customer anyways. You're looking for a product between the 5 to 10,000 rupee range, maybe 20,000 if you're looking for a premium thing. My starting product is 1,10,000. So me trying to convince you to move and then come to this is probably stupid in terms of marketing. And I've burnt my fingers in this over the last year. So this is where I realized that this is what we got to do. We do keywords. We stick to keywords to understand people are looking specifically for our products. We're the first people that show up. But trying to add keywords that are related to us, I think is a waste of funneling for us.
Indeed. And I recently saw these interesting ads that you guys posted, the potato experiment thing, and trying to catch the sunlight to start off this thing. Those are interesting ads. So what was the strategy behind it, or it was just a fun approach at the moment?
First of all, we're the only company in the world that has ever made advertisements in the atmospheric water generation space. We did 3 ads in 2021 also. I don't know if you've seen the old ads. And I think that our entire focus on creating these ads is brand awareness and technology awareness. I don't foresee any direct conversions because of these ads. Right. But it is part of a marketing strategy in terms of brand strategy to establish our credibility in the market. So people understand, right, that whenever you're thinking water from air, you should be thinking Akvo. And we already have the customer base around it. So I think in the world of differentiation of what we're doing, our differentiation is both. See, if you look at our content, when I say content, I don't mean too much content on social media. But if you look at our content on the internet about Akvo, there's PR, there's our website, there's so on and so forth. I think there's enough out there to constantly keep establishing our brand credibility and also maintain neutrality in terms of origin. So, if somebody goes onto our website, you don't know, is it an Indian company, is it British company, American company, etc. So we decided to be geography agnostic in that sense. We're a technology company and we're deploying around the world. So even the name that we thought of, the branding that we do, etc., is very focused around what we're trying to solve and create awareness around water from air. We're not trying to create too much awareness around I have a machine, it can do this, it can do that, etc. We don't do that. Even in fact, you must have seen these 2 ads don't have product at all. Right. And that was done on purpose. I got a lot of feedback and a lot of slack after these ads from so-called marketing gurus. 70% of the ad, there's no mention of Akvo. Okay, so and it has no product, and you should never shy away from your product. And I got a lot of yarn on that. But I know clearly what I wanted to do with the ad. I wanted to create interest, and I think the ads do just that. But they get people to the point, and I'm sure, and I've seen the follow through rates on our ad. The watch duration is quite decent, so people are going through with the entire ad because it is creating curiosity. Like, what is this guy doing?
Right.
Why is he putting wires into potatoes, or why is he sitting in front of an egg with a magnifying glass? So the whole idea there was that very categorically create the awareness around water from air. Not so much where anybody after that will want to go to our website and see what we do, right? I don't need a specific product image there, and I don't think that somebody is going to see my ad. And my product is not like click on add to cart and check out. It's about creating awareness, and I think the ads do just that. Even the last 3 ads that we had, I don't know if you recall them, but you can see there were basically three settings were there. But in all three settings, somebody is asking for a glass of water, and you see the ad when they poured water into a glass, which practically is nothing is happening because the bottle is empty and the glass is empty. And when the person is drinking that glass and he's acting like his thirst is quenched, and that's when the super comes up, right? There's more water in the air than you think. So I think that was the whole premise of what we want to do. We want to create awareness about such a technology existing. We want to create awareness around what we do.
Right.
Now, how we do it is part of the conversation once you reach out to us, right? We don't have an add to cart kind of product, like I said. We're not an e-com product. So our ads are very brand-centric, not product-centric.
Indeed. And when it comes to brand messaging or brand identity on its own, it's a long-term game. So as far as your things keep people talking about it, I think the game is on.
I also think so, and I think having to create that presence and create that online presence also is very important, especially in today's digital age, right? Because everything is SEO. Everything is SEO, and because of that, it's important that you have enough content out there that mentions you or that puts your product there. And if you and even from a let's say completely strictly marketing competition perspective, if anybody sees my pages versus the competition's page, it immediately splits up the big boys from the newbies. Any big brand always concentrates on both product and marketing. I think the competition in our case doesn't concentrate on marketing. And at the end, when this space is going to get crowded, because to be very honest, water from air is not rocket science. It is only going to be about brand.
Right.
I started that journey 7 years ago on creating the brand.
And when it comes to the marketing mix, so online is something that you're going strong at. But what is your view on the offline space? Because a lot of your
I don't do offline at all.
Okay.
Akvo sells whatever it does 100% entirely because of online marketing.
Okay.
We maintain a very lean team. I don't have feet on the street of 2 people in Bangalore, 2 people here, 2 people there. We have a total sales team of 3 people.
Oh.
Okay. And I sell in 15 countries. And it's only because of marketing outreach. It's not because and we don't do cold calls. Akvo would never picks up the phone and call someone, hey, would you be interested in a water generator? We don't do that. We don't do outbound emails. We don't do push sales. Our strategy is very clear. We've created the eco space and brand awareness around. The minute somebody is looking for water generators, they reach out to us. And that's when the process starts. Because I spent a lot of money on the last few years in trying to do push sales. But 4 years ago, I realized it's not working because the market is not ready. In fact, I realized this even more when we did the 3 ads in 2021. And, we ran them extensively. In fact, we even did a print ad in Chennai in Economic Times. And after spending 35 lakh rupees on that campaign, I sold 1 machine. So I realized that the market is not ready from a perspective of, simply putting ads and doing push. We do what? at some point your demand has to meet your marketing effort. Demand for the technology of atmospheric water generation is still growing.
Hmm.
So because of that reason, it's very important that this moves forward.
Indeed. And when it comes to a low demand market or a TAM, what would be your advice to entrepreneurs entering maybe a similar niche, not maybe AWG, but other niches? What would be your advice for them?
Even somebody enters AWG, I'm saying if you enter AWG, please enter AWG with a lot of money in your pockets, because the first 5-7 years are going to be difficult. Maybe not so anymore because there are now more players, so it's started to grow. But I think any person finding the niche should understand one thing. If you're trying to bootstrap something, see, there are two ways to do it, right? In today's day and age of startup ecosystem is such that you can raise money on an idea, right? Not just seed. That's seed, right? So you basically get pre-seed.
Yeah.
There's so many pre-series and post-series and all of that. It's so confusing. But you can now raise money on an idea. You can go to someone and say, I have this idea. But addressing a TAM that might be a niche is very challenging. Your strategy on marketing and sales should be very guerrilla to understand that you're not wasting too much resource in trying to reach everyone.
Right.
A lot of people make the mistake that they want to reach everyone. Even the campaigns we run, let's say on LinkedIn, right? We know that our customers are of certain niches within companies, or the decision makers of certain niches within those title holders within those companies. So we pick those very selectively. I believe every dollar spent on marketing is very important. And especially today, with so much access to digital tools and digital marketing, it is so easy to filter through and funnel, right? So why would you go about just trying to educate everyone? The education automatically will happen. And once it happens, once your TAM increases, the word of mouth organic marketing will start on its own. You won't even need to do anything. But till then, I think having guerrilla marketing tactics is very important.
And when it comes to the sustainability bit of the business, what measures do you follow?
I think, in our case, we actually all our products are metal. Everything that we do is renewable in that sense. We're in the water space. So we really, if you ask me specifically, what do we do for sustainability? I don't think we do it. If you ask me. But because the industry we are in itself, it is not waste generating. So yeah, I don't think we do sustainability. If you say there's a broad framework of what we're doing, we're too small a company to be looking at it.
In terms of pivoting towards new corollaries or new branches based on the same tech, like what's your focus in the coming years?
See, the way I look at it, I think this has to move to more large infrastructure, large scale deployment. And that will only happen when we move away from the current CapEx line of work that we're in to OpEx. Today, we've already started to push out our OpEx to corporations. So there are industries and enterprises who are not buying our machines outright, but subscribing to our water, paying us per liter generated. So the future I see is again based on pre-purchase agreements or water purchase agreements, where we will deploy our machines and charge for every liter generated. So our focus is that by the year 2025, financial 26, which is 25-26, we want to be generating 1 million liters of water from air every day. And that's the target. And that will happen both with a mix of OpEx and CapEx in terms of final consumer. This year in India, in Bangalore, we have a very clear mandate that we're only going to be trying to push OpEx to enterprises to get more and more penetration. And that's what we're concentrating on.
When we talk about markets other than India, there's this notion that India is such a complex market and other countries are totally different. And since you guys operate in 15 countries, what has been your personal experience about, which other countries are similar to India or it's a completely different ballgame?
I think, India, it's always value versus volume, right? Constantly. The prices that we fetch for our systems abroad, in India, we have to be more price sensitive because the competition here really doesn't understand the importance of technology and research and development. India has a very clear method of working on cost plus. Everybody says, how do you work on cost plus? This is the machine cost, this is my margin, etc. What they ignore is 7 years of R&D, 10 years of keeping people on payroll, not understanding any sales. A lot of things go into it, right? So to develop any technology or IP, it takes investment. But the problem in India right now is, like, even when we hear, right, from local distributors or local say, "Arey, this is like an air conditioning system. Compressor ही है, heat exchange ही है, तो इतना महंगा क्यों है?" ऐसे सर इतना सिंपल है, आप ही बना लो. मैं आपको लिस्ट ऑफ मटेरियल दे देता हूँ, parts. Why don't you build it on your own, right? So in India, the cost plus way of method of working is very different. Although large corporates don't do that anymore. They see value propositions, they understand because they themselves operate on those kind of things. But yeah, from a mid segment and lower segment, we always face cost resistance in India. And that's what we're trying to address with our OPEX model. That we don't want to go and convince you why my machine should cost 10 lakh rupees. You don't worry about what it should cost. You worry about what is the output cost per liter that you're paying for, and that's what we should matter.
Right. In terms of production, like manufacturing, like India is the next thing, is what people say, because it's now China plus one policy that everyone is looking at. But in terms of manufacturing, what is your view? Like, is India really feasible, or there are other better options out there in the Southeast Asia region?
See, I've heard that Vietnam is really ramping up their manufacturing hub. Cambodia is really ramping up their manufacturing hubs. India has a two-pronged problem, right? India obviously can do global levels of manufacturing at different scales. But in India, as a manufacturing ecosystem, everything is not available the way it should be. In fact, even on our fabrications that we make here, we don't get the kind of finishing that we want. Because from an international standard, our competition is Israeli water gen. Now, water gen is machine made in China. So the finishing that they get, the molds that they do, we don't get that kind of finishing. So I think that will change in the next 10 years. I think more and more people are becoming quality conscious. We've seen this now, right? I was driving the other day, and I was thinking there was a time in India where you would buy a car, right? And you could go for the base model that didn't have power windows. The side mirrors would not be body colored; they would be black in color, right? So that thing used to exist where people would go for the lowest rung. The bumpers would not match the body color; it should be black, just to save cost. So we've come a long way from there, right? These things have now become standard features. The airbags have become standard features. So the customer is willing to pay now. And that mindset of appearances, aesthetics, these have started to come in. So when the consumer demands, the consumer will get. That shift will start to happen. And it started to happen already because people want those finishes. People want to buy something Indian, but they want it to feel like it's an international product. But that was different earlier. People would like, this is Indian, मेरे को export quality चाहिए. But I think India, that has started to change now. So right. I think over the next 5 to 7 years, we'll see, because to match up with consumer expectation, manufacturing infrastructure will also catch up. It's always demand versus supply, right? And I think that's what it's going to be.
Right. And when you say the finish is lacking, when we talk about the production on an industrial level here, is it a technology problem or is it a skill problem?
It's both. It's a mindset problem. Quality. चल जाएगा ना, चला लो ना, इसमें क्या है? थोड़ा ही तो चिप्ट है साइड से. हमको तो कोई कंप्लेन नहीं करता. When you hear this from a vendor, you understand they don't care. And because the main boss of the vendor doesn't care, I'm sure the person on the shop floor doesn't care also. Right. Because India, the term jugaad, right? Jugaad is both a positive term and a very negative term. Jugaad allows India to do things at low cost. But Jugaad also makes sure that the frills are gotten rid of, we don't need quality, doesn't matter. So finding the balance between both is very important.
True. And sometimes Jugaad can also be innovation, but at the same time, as you said, quality gets hampered.
So it does, right? Because when it's always about cost,
right.
When it's always about cost, this is a problem. And that's why Nano didn't take off the way that it would have, right? It was everything about cost. I want to make a car under 1 lakh rupees. It eventually became 1.6 lakh rupees and it started to blow up.
Right.
So this happened in my team also. When I tell them to make an advancement in terms of, let's say, component change, and they say, sir, mehanga ho jayega. And I say, I'm not talking to you about cost now. First, find the solution. Let's see. Then we'll talk about cost down. The problem in India is that I want this product to be made within this selling. This should be my cost. When you start your conversation with that, you'll never get a good result product.
Indeed.
It doesn't work that way. First you make the product, then you do cost down.
Right.
Then you try to do cost reduction. But if you start with an idea of a cost constraint, then you will never be able to get a good product.
And have you considered shifting your manufacturing base or having another manufacturing base outside India?
So yeah, actually we are in talks with 2 manufacturing facilities to be set up, one in Saudi Arabia right now and one in Philippines, which we see as big markets. We also received some interest in setting up a manufacturing facility in Egypt. So we are seeing that, and eventually it will become that. I don't think we'll be able to work in a manner where we cater everything from India. Now we'll have to set up more local partnerships, and also because what's started to happen in these developing countries, especially like say Saudi Arabia, for example, or Egypt, import duty structures are high. And the government is pushing indigenization because they want to build up their manufacturing hubs and they want to create employment of their own. Right. So they're always going to try and restrict externally manufacturing products.
How does 2024 look like for Akvo?
2024 looks like a good year for me. Obviously, everybody goes into the year with good expectations. But what we have rewired ourselves with earlier, that we were always pushing pressure on ourselves on monthly sales. But now that we are in projects mindset, we're a project company. We do large 4 or 5 big projects in the year and we're okay. So currently focus is on 2 things predominantly. Make sure the existing projects we're working on are successfully done on time and all of that. And secondly is to really up our game this year in R&D and come up with 2 new products which will change the game for the industry, not just for Akvo.
In terms of questions, I'm done with the official questions that came to my mind. But what other topics would you like to talk about or you would want to address the youth about?
See, I think in today's infrastructure development and market creation, I think various niches and pockets of markets are getting made. Somebody asked me in an interview, I think this is way back in 2018 or 17, I think it was an Economic Times interview that I did. And she asked me, do you have a patent? And I said, no. She said, why don't you have a patent? I said, because the technology, first of all, is very simple. Second of all, I want to protect myself in product differentiation. I don't want to close the market off in such a manner where more and more people cannot enter the space. See, everything has to work in a direction where a product like water needs to go as far as possible. So I think if you build something that is good from a tech perspective and you can create a market, you should be open to share because it can have real impact then. And there's big enough market for everything. People always go with the idea that technology, so do you have a patent? Will it be IP? All of that. But today an Ola and an Uber exist in the same market. A Swiggy and a Zomato exist in the same market. Right? So you can be in the space. You can have competition in the space, and competition is healthy. And I think if you have real impact and real outreach, it's important. So I think people should not fixate too much on just IP. People should try and do real good and create real impact. And I really think that the next era should be more focused on bootstrapping companies and trying to build out profitable businesses. Every single business you see nowadays, startup, they start with the mindset of I'm going to bleed money for X years. And it's so easy, right, to take external money and just burn up and say 5 years later you exist, you don't exist, nobody cares. So I think it's important for people to look at creating organically good bootstrap profitable businesses. Because that's where the real value creation happens.
Right. But I think the shift is happening because now people see the real impact of profitable companies from day one.
And it's started to happen. And you can scale. And that's how it works. Of course, in order to penetrate or make any market, you might need to bleed money. So you need that initial capital. Like in my case, I was lucky I have a family business. We were able to fund it internally. So obviously I bled money for the first 4 or 5 years. It's not like that I didn't. But the focus was always on creating profitability.
Right.
And today also, I think it's very important that everybody works towards that. It's not only about valuations.
Right. It's about value, rather.
About value, not valuation. Absolutely.
Talking about things that are making impact on the world, AI is talk of the town. It's the only thing that people can talk about these days. So do you see implications of AI or some way that you could be using AI with your...
We already used AI. It was very funny. When we were doing this project for this large project in Chennai last year, part of the project was that we had to do backnet integration. Now, backnet is a building management software protocol, where most intelligent buildings, they work on that protocol. So the air conditioning, the water, they all sync up to that system. So the building management can control all those things from one. So it was part of a project to integrate our systems with the backnet. All our systems are IoT enabled, but we work independently through the cloud. So they wanted a local infrastructure. So we had to build out a backnet infrastructure. So we tried to look for people. We didn't have the internal know-how. So we found a IT company, software development company, I think based out of Chennai or Bangalore, I don't remember. And I remember to write that code and come up with a solution. We paid them 5 lakhs or 6 lakh rupees. ChatGPT wrote that code in 45 seconds.
The same code.
Same code for free. Okay. so yeah, it's going to make a lot of people redundant for sure. In three spaces: graphic designing, in software development, and in copywriting. I think these three industries are going to be terribly hit. So terribly hit. It has both its pros and its cons. We're using AI now to do data analysis internally, because all our machines are on the cloud. So we're using AI for machine learning to see how our machines should operate in what weather conditions and all of that. So we also started the integration. It has a lot of pros, but it has a lot of cons also. And how we use it is going to really decide what the actual outcome would be. Because if AI moves the direction it is, I think in the next 10 years, universal basic income will become the truth. Because there will be people who will have no jobs, right? And that will become a big issue.
True. But let's hope, it's all about shifting to different domains, the way the computer age brought me.
I guess. And people started to do that, right? In the last 3 years, the number of people who have become traders, just investing in the stock markets and doing nothing else, that has gone up. People start taking bets. People will start I think the shift will happen where soft skills will move to AI. Hard skills will come back.
Right.
People will start farming. People will start making products, handicrafts, handmade products will go to another level. So a lot of new industries will be created. A lot of old industries will come back also.
Right.
So that's how I see AI.
Certainly, tangible products will shoot up.
Sure. Let's see how that works.
So Navkaran, it has been a great chat session with you.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for reaching out. People gain something from my experience.